In this video, we will understand what exactly is meant by total surface area and understand how to calculate the total surface area for a particular 3D shape, as well as figure out how to determine the volume. Alright, so total surface area is nothing but the area covered by the surface of any particular 3D shape. So if you look into the figure, and this is looking at a cylinder, the surface of the cylinder and the area occupied by the surface corresponds to the surface area and measured in square units, whereas what is contained within the cylinder, the space occupied by it, is called its volume. Both are calculated for 3D shapes like cubes, prisms, cuboids, what have you. Alright, moving on. Now let's look at how to apply it for particular geometric shapes. So let's get started with a cylinder. So the total surface area, as we know, is the area covered by the surface of the shape. In this case, we have not only the base of the cylinder but also the rounded sides of the cylinder. So in this case, the total surface area is the sum of the areas of all the faces and sides. In this case, we have the area covered by the sides of the cylinder as well as the areas of the bases. So the side can be thought of as a sheet wrapped around a circular rod, and so it can also be thought of as the circumference of a circle multiplied by the height of the cylinder. So think of it as rings of a circle multiplied by the height. So if you think of it that way, you get the total surface area to be the area covered by the bases, which is nothing but pi r square, which is the area of the circle, times 2, and then the circumference of each circle multiplied by the height. Okay, so let's move on to figuring out how to calculate the volume. Alright, so volume of a cylinder is nothing but what is contained within that particular cylinder, which is the area of the base times its height. So think of it as multiple circles piled on top of each other, and the space occupied by all these circles would be the volume of that particular cylinder. So it's area of the base, which is nothing but area of the circle, pi r square, since the base is in the shape of a circle, and then times the height gives us pi r square h in cubic units. Alright, so now moving on to a cube. We know from a formula from the properties of a cube that every side of a cube is equal, right? And a cube has 6 faces, right? So the total surface area, as we know from the previous slides, is the sum of all the areas of all the faces and sides. Since each side of a cube is equal in length as well as all the faces are the same, what we can determine is the area of each face, which is given by a square. If a is the side of each face, then since a cube has 6 faces, 6 times a square gives us 6a square, which is the total surface area of the cube. Okay, moving on to the volume of a cube, which is nothing but the space occupied by the cube. So like I said, think of it as piles of squares stacked on top of each other, and if each square is determined by the area of the square, which is a square, and the height is again the side of the cube, which is nothing but a, the volume becomes a square times a, which is a cube in cubic units. Easy enough. And now we look at a prism. So the total surface area of a prism again is the sum of the areas of all the faces and its sides, right? Now the base of a triangular prism is in the shape of a triangle, right? And the area of each triangular base is half base times the height, right? If capital H is the height of the triangular base, then the area of the triangular base becomes half b times capital H. The small h here is the height of the prism itself, so don't get confused with the capital H with the small h. Alright, they are different. And the area of the three rectangular faces would be the side of each triangle times the height. So it will be side 1 times h plus side 2 times h plus side 3 times h, giving us the total square area to be the sum of all the areas of the faces, which would be side 1 times h plus side 2 times h plus side 3 times h plus twice the area of each triangular base, which is twice half base times capital H, which becomes base times capital H plus the sum of the areas of all the sides. Alright, and then last but not the least, if you're trying to determine the volume of the prism, again consider it as triangles stacked on top of each other, given the area of the base is nothing but half base times capital H, where h is the height of the triangular base. The volume becomes this area of the base times the height of the prism, which is small h, and becomes half base times height times the small h, which is the height of the prism. And there you go. Alright, hope you enjoyed this short and quick video. It was simply explained. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and continue watching. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet already. Thanks so much.